The first thing they noticed was that Earth didn't smell like a battlefield. The Yalharen were seasoned hunters, warriors bred for tracking and exterminating prey across the galaxy. Their arrival on this unremarkable blue world was supposed to be routine. Land, observe, cull the planet's apex predators, and claim dominance. Yet as their transport broke through the atmosphere, Commander Raylak couldn't shake an unfamiliar sense of unease. The terrain below stretched vast and varied. Dense forests, rolling plains, towering mountains capped with ice, primitive, untouched by true civilization, the perfect hunting ground. But the air was wrong. No acrid fumes of war, no lingering stench of desperate prey. Just oxygen, trees, and the faint aroma of water. The planet reeked of indifference. The ship touched down in a valley flanked by mountains. The air was crisp, the temperature ideal. It should have been perfect. But the silence gnawed at them. The squad disembarked, their weapons primed, their armor adjusted to Earth's gravity. 8 of the finest hunters, each standing over 7 feet tall, their skin layered in natural plating, their eyes designed to track the faintest movements. They had conquered harsher worlds, hunted creatures that breathed acid and bled fire. Yet something about this planet unsettled them. "Any signs of intelligent resistance?" asked Trovar, the youngest among them. He had been eager for this mission, hungry for a true challenge. Raylak checked his scanner. Primitive networks, scattered settlements, some infrastructure, nothing advanced enough to threaten us. Then why do I feel like something's watching us? No one had an answer. They advanced, their sensors sweeping the surroundings. The dense forest ahead pulsed with life. Birds, mammals, insects, all insignificant, their thermal signatures small and erratic. Nothing worthy of the hunt. "We track the dominant predators," Raylak ordered. "We study them, then we test them." The plan was simple. Identify the planet's apex hunters, gauge their strength, and establish control. It had worked on every other world. An hour passed. They found nothing. No large tracks, no carcasses of territorial kills, no signs of anything that ruled the land. It was as if this world had no apex predator at all. "This isn't normal," muttered Kordak, their veteran tracker. He knelt, brushing a hand over the damp earth. "A world like this should have predators, big ones. Something should be feeding on all this prey." "But there's nothing," Trovar whispered. "Not even a scent." Raylak frowned. "Perhaps we—" A sharp, unnatural sound cut through the air. Not the rustling of leaves, not the snapping of a branch. Something more calculated. Every warrior stiffened. Trovar pivoted first, his rifle raised. His visor scanned, looking for movement. Nothing. Then came a thud. A body hit the ground. They turned. Foreign was missing. Where he had stood, only disturbed leaves remained. No blood, no struggle, just gone. Weapons were drawn. The squad moved into a defensive circle, eyes darting, sensors recalibrating. "Vorin, respond," Raylak commanded through the comms. Silence. "Something's out there," Kordak hissed. "Something fast." "Thermal scans?" Raylak barked. Trovar adjusted his visor, scanning the trees, the underbrush, the rocks. His display flickered, recalibrated. Then his heart stopped. Cold. Everything was cold. No heat signatures, no warmth, no life, nothing. "Impossible," he whispered. Then another sound. A breath. Too close. Kordak spun, weapon firing. A blur moved in the trees. Not running, dropping. A scream. Kordak's body crumpled. His head rolled into the grass. For the first time in his life, Raylak felt something foreign, something he had never encountered in all his hunts. Fear. Trovar took a step back, his rifle trained on the trees, finger tense on the trigger. His breathing was steady, but his mind raced. Kordak had been there, right there. And then he wasn't. Just like Vorin. No sound, no warning. A warrior of his caliber didn't just vanish. "We need to regroup," Raylak growled. "Tight formation, eyes everywhere." The remaining 5 hunters pressed their backs together, forming a protective ring. Their visors cycled through every scanning mode. Infrared, motion detection, biological markers. Nothing. The silence was suffocating. Trovar's gaze flicked to Kordak's severed head on the forest floor. The wound was too clean. The cut had been made with precision, not brute force. "Something is hunting us," he said, voice low. Ralak didn't respond. He didn't need to. They all knew. Another sound, this time not subtle. Leaves rustled. A shadow shifted, too fast to be a native creature. Ralak didn't hesitate. His rifle snapped up and he fired a burst into the trees. Blue plasma streaked through the air, igniting foliage in its wake. A shape moved. It didn't retreat. It didn't flinch. It simply adjusted. Trovar barely had time to process before another shot rang out, this time from Zevrak. He had caught something in his peripheral, pivoted, fired. But when the plasma bolt struck, there was nothing. The air around them felt heavier now. The trees, the open sky, the dirt beneath their feet, it all felt foreign. "Back to the ship," Ralak ordered. "Now!" They moved as one, keeping formation, scanning the tree line. Weapons ready. Another step, another shift in the air. And then, Zevrak stumbled. Just a fraction of a second. A momentary hitch in his step. It was enough. Something blurred past him. A ripple in space. Then Zevrak was gone. No scream, no resistance, just gone. The hunters froze, weapons sweeping the area. But they already knew whatever had taken him wouldn't be there anymore. A pattern was emerging. This wasn't an ambush, it was a cull. Ralak tapped his wrist console. "Ship, initiate emergency recall." No response. He tried again. "Command override, full emergency recall, immediate evacuee." Static. Then a crackling sound. Not from the ship, from the trees. The sound of something shifting, mimicking. A voice, garbled and hollow, repeated his command. "Full emergency recall." Trovar's grip tightened. His claws flexed against the metal of his rifle. It was playing with them. "Commander's orders," Trovar muttered. "We move, fast." They abandoned formation. There was no point in staying defensive if the enemy could reach them at will. The only chance was to outrun whatever was hunting them. The ship was less than 2 kilometers away. They sprinted, heavy boots tearing through underbrush. A whistling noise filled the air. Then Kravik let out a strangled gasp and fell mid-stride. Trovar saw it happen. 1 second Kravik was running. The next, something lanced through his armor, piercing his throat. The body collapsed, twitching, as something dark coiled away into the shadows. Trovar didn't stop. None of them did. 1 kilometer left. The valley opened up ahead. The ship's silhouette gleamed under the alien sky. Safety was close. Then Ralak skidded to a halt. The ship's ramp was down. The lights flickered inside. The doors were open, waiting. Too perfect. Trovar realized it at the same time. They weren't being chased toward safety. They were being herded into a trap. Trovar didn't slow. He couldn't. Every instinct screamed that stopping meant death. Ralak hesitated for only a second before making his decision. "Inside! Now!" Trovar gritted his teeth but obeyed. They sprinted up the ramp, weapons raised, scanning every shadow in the ship's dim interior. The lights flickered. The ship was powered, but something was wrong. "Lock it down!" Ralak barked. The ramp retracted. The doors sealed. Systems flickered to life. For the first time since the mission began, the remaining 3 hunters felt a sliver of control. Trovar pressed a command into the panel. "Full system diagnostics. Scan for foreign entities." The ship hummed in response. The scanners cycled through the rooms, searching. No threats detected. Trovar exhaled. "Maybe." A wet sound echoed through the halls. Ralak tensed. They turned as one. A smear of darkness slid across the ceiling, just at the edge of their vision. Weapons fired. Plasma scorched the metal, but the shadow was gone before the shots landed. The ship listed. Systems flickered again. Something moved near the cockpit. Trovar advanced, slow, ready. He reached the doorway and saw it, or rather the lack of it. The pilot's chair was empty. The controls were operational, but no one was there. The ship had been flying itself. Then he saw the scratches. Not a struggle, not damage. Marks, intentional, deliberate, carved into the metal in their own language. There is no escape. Trovar took a step back. We need to leave this planet. Ralak was already at the controls, inputting commands. Engines primed, lifting now. The ship rumbled. The valley outside tilted as they rose. Clouds loomed ahead. Then, silence. Trovar turned. The last hunter, Jorek, was gone. He had been standing there. Now there was only empty space. No sound, no struggle. Gone. Trovar's vision swam. It's in here, with us. The ship groaned. The walls seemed closer. The air was heavier. Ralak's hands flew over the controls. Override protocol, maximum thrust. We break orbit. The ship shot skyward. Trovar scanned every corner, every shadow. Nothing. Then the comms crackled. A voice. Hollow. Twisting. Jorek's voice. You brought it with you. Trovar turned, weapon raised. Where are you? Static. The voice shifted. Krevik's voice. You let it in. Trovar's breath came fast. The cockpit lights flickered. The ship was wrong. The walls, the floor, the ceiling. The space itself was wrong. Ralak's claws tightened on the controls. We're breaching orbit. We can still... The ship stopped, not slowed. Not malfunctioned, stopped, as if held in place. Trovar's mind reeled. That wasn't possible. The ship had momentum, propulsion, thrust. Then he heard it. Not a sound, not a voice. A realization. There had never been a predator on this planet. No clawed beasts, no fanged monsters, because the planet itself hunted. The trees, the air, the silence, the waiting. The hunters had never stood a chance. The Yalharen had come to Earth to hunt. Instead, they had been invited, and now Earth was keeping them. Trovar's body felt weightless, his vision blurred. The last thing he saw was Ralak, mouth open, eyes wide. Then there was only darkness. The ship drifted silently in Earth's orbit. No distress signals, no emergency beacons. Just a cold, hollow mass of metal, empty of life. For weeks, nothing changed. The vessel remained locked in the planet's grip, unmoving, untouched. No crew emerged, no communications were sent. Then something stirred inside, a flicker in the ship's dim corridors, a whisper against the steel walls, a shadow moving where no shadow should exist. The Yalharen were gone. That much was certain, but the ship was not abandoned. Deep within the control chamber, the consoles blinked erratically, responding to something unseen. Commands inputted themselves, bypassing security protocols, rewriting the vessel's navigation systems. The coordinates changed. The engines powered up, though no hand touched the controls. The ship was leaving, not escaping, departing. A message pulsed through the ship's systems, sent in every known galactic language. It was a simple broadcast, yet it carried a weight that no empire, no species could ignore. Hunters came to Earth. They did not return. Do not follow. It was not a warning. It was an invitation. Far across the galaxy, in the Yalharen Dominion, warlords gathered in their great halls waiting for their hunting party to return. Months passed. Silence remained. The Dominion's High Council demanded answers. More ships were sent. Scouts, elite warriors, an entire fleet prepared to retrieve their lost kin. Then the Yalharen received the message. They studied it, analyzed it, dismissed it. It was a trick, they told themselves. Some unknown species had ambushed their hunters, stolen their ship, and was attempting to ward them off with fear. The Yalharen did not retreat from fear, and so they sent more hunters. The new fleet arrived in Earth's orbit 3 months later. The missing ship was still there, unmoving, undamaged. It hovered, silent, as if waiting. The lead vessel hailed it, no response. They attempted to board, no resistance. The ship's interior was pristine, no sign of battle, no signs of struggle. The weapons remained charged, untouched since their last deployment. The crew's belongings remained as they had left them. But there were no bodies. The hunters were simply gone. Data logs were recovered. The last recordings from the vanished crew played before the High Command. Their warriors had landed, had searched, had seen something. Then one by one they vanished. But the strangest part came at the very end. In the final recorded transmission, the squad's commander, Ralak, had turned toward the ship's camera, his expression unreadable. He spoke only 3 words. It knows us. And then the feed ended. The Yalharen fleet did not linger. The ship was left behind, a relic of a failed hunt. The Dominion sealed the records, forbidding any further expeditions. Earth was not to be touched, but not all species were wise. In the cycles that followed, whispers of Earth spread across the galaxy. A world that had defeated the Yalharen. A world where hunters became prey. To some, this was a warning. To others, it was a challenge. The next hunters would come, and Earth would be waiting. The abandoned Yalharen warship remained in Earth's orbit, untouched, a monument to the silent hunt that had taken place. No scavengers dared approach. No opportunistic species sought to claim its advanced technology. Something about the ship, about the planet below, kept them away. But not forever. Months turned to years, and the legend of Earth grew. Some believed it was cursed. Others claimed it was the domain of a greater predator, something beyond even the Yalharen's understanding. Then came the scientists, not hunters, not warriors, researchers from the distant edges of the galaxy, drawn to the mystery of the lost hunting party. They came in secrecy, wary of the Dominion's warning. Their vessel remained outside the range of Earth's orbit, scanning from a distance, gathering data. They studied the planet's surface, its life forms, its ecosystems. Everything seemed normal. The air was clean, the oceans vast, the biosphere diverse. Yet there was an absence they couldn't explain. Predators existed, wolves, great cats, reptiles of monstrous size. But something was missing. There was no true apex predator. No single species dominated. No creature kept the balance. The planet should have belonged to something at the top of the food chain, yet nothing claimed that title. The researchers debated theories. Had Earth's greatest predators gone extinct? Had something wiped them out? One of them, a cautious scholar, ran a final scan of the Yalharen vessel before their departure. That's when he found the last transmission. Not the recorded one. Those had been retrieved and broadcasted long ago. This one was different. It wasn't a message sent from the ship. It was a message received, a simple, repeating signal sent from somewhere on Earth, just one phrase. "We are still here." The scientists left. They never returned. And the galaxy understood one thing. Earth did not need an apex predator, because Earth itself was the predator.